For more of this kind of content, you can subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment. They called them relics and smiled at the thought of spoiling them. Commander Rek watched the feed, pale screens throwing angles across his face. The humans had a name the slavers loved: soft keepers. Primitive protective instincts cloaked in obsolete armor. He read the manifest. 2 juveniles, age 6, unarmed, encoded cargo. Worth a market, worth a message, worth a lesson. Seize them, he said. The word was precise. 4 syllables that tightened the hold of a fleet. 47 craft answered the signal. 47 blips blinked onto his tactical grid in clean formation. He counted the lines with a pleasure that tasted like cold metal. Distance to target, 0.9 light minutes. Intercept ETA, 11 minutes. The clock began to unwind. On the comm, Lieutenant Saru's voice was neat. Relic response probable. There are reports of 3 corvettes in system, but they transit too fast to be reliable. Rek allowed himself a small amusement. 3 corvettes against 47 hunters. The arithmetic favored them. Hunters trained on prey. Prey that begged. Prey that screamed. He opened the twins' dossier. MicroArchive contained a single data shard, unreadable by slaver decryption without risk. Rek liked risk when it carried discretion. Bring them in intact, he told the boarding cadre. We profit more with answers than ash. His hands were steady. The policy was steady. Capture, process, sell. Protocols layered like plated armor. Nav confirmed vectors. Approach velocity, 0.002 light minutes per standard burn. Boarding pods, 12 per carrier. Restraint nets armed. The fleet hummed to life. Surface cameras on their prey showed a dim outpost and 2 small figures moving in sand and shadow. He watched them scuttle toward a human structure. The slaver contempt sharpened. Humans hid children and call it compassion. Rek liked to dismantle that sort of arrogance. Sarcastic murmurs passed through the wardroom. Watch the relics favor tears, Saru said. They will poison our markets with mercy. Rek let that go public. Mercy was a useful currency to manipulate. They would break the humans with spectacle. They would extract the data. They would sell the survivors for parts. He flipped to his personal log. His voice, recorded for posterity, was clinical. Operation Harvest, Priority 1. Capture intact. Minimal exposure. 0 collateral that incurs political fallout. He added a note. Collect emotional displays. Humans trade sentiment. Sentiment fetched high among collectors who liked the drama of bondage. On the screen, the humans moved with a kind of clumsy, stubborn care. A single soldier knelt to the twins. He observed the gesture like a predator watching an insect step into a trap. The slaver's laughter was soft and knowing. They had cataloged the human weaknesses. They had exploited them across 6 systems. Rek imagined the outcome: efficient. 1 lesson, rapid submission, a reminder across the clusters. He imagined the twins' eyes wide and small, and then the cold finality that followed the bargain. Bring them, he repeated, quieter. Bring them. Leave no ceremonial mercy. He closed the feed. The 47 blips maintained their glide. The fleet readied. The order would soon be irreversible. No hesitation whatsoever. The clock read 11 minutes and change. They were relics. They would teach the galaxy a new accounting. He did not know the words the children would speak in return. They arrived at a run, 2 small silhouettes cutting through dust and cooling wind. Sergeant Elon saw them first. Tiny frames, barefooted, breath hitching in sharp pulses. Age markers read 6, height irregular for their species. Their hands were clasped together, as if the contact alone kept them upright. Behind them, the horizon held only quiet sand and a fading trail of heat that suggested pursuit rather than escape. He stepped out of the outpost gate, 1 hand raised, palm open, no weapon drawn. The children flinched at the gesture, then forced themselves closer. Their eyes moved too quickly, as if counting exits they no longer trusted. Elon crouched, lowering himself to their height. "You're safe," he said, keeping his voice measured. "You're inside our line." The smaller twin lifted a device, a narrow data shard wrapped in a cloth strip. Elon noted the shimmer along its edge. Sealed encryption, species-locked, carrier-coded. Not market-grade tech, not civilian. The child's voice cracked. "We bring proof," he whispered. "Please, please don't send us back outside." Elon's chest tightened. He reached for the shard with slow precision, reading the stress lines on their faces. The fabric was scorched. Something had burned through whatever ship they had arrived in. A sensor pinged from the tower. Long-range contact in 11 minutes. Elon didn't share it. Instead, he guided them into the entry vestibule, activating the thermal barrier so the room warmed around their shaking forms. "You're safe," he repeated. "Tell me what you're carrying. Tell me what happened." The twins exchanged a look. Too practiced, too weighted for children. Then the older one spoke. "They're not hunting us," she said. "They're hunting everyone like us. 800,000. It's an extinction protocol." The words landed with a gravity that chilled the air despite the heater's steady rise. Elon kept his breathing even, letting the cadence of the child's voice set the tempo. "Who activated it?" he asked. "We don't know the face," she said. "Only the factions. 5 shadows, 5 commands. They don't want us alive. We were the only ones to escape with the proof." She touched the shard with both hands. Elon scanned it. Confirmed biological binding, confirmed hostile tamper signatures, confirmed the danger. The device was meant to outlive its carriers. That alone told him enough about the intelligence behind it. A low tremor shuddered through the outpost floor as distant atmospheric bands shifted. Contact estimates updated. 47 slaver craft converging. 3 corvettes responding too fast for standard detection. Elon focused on the twins instead of the threat. "You came for help," he said. "You have it." His voice held no bravado, only certainty. The younger twin shook his head. "Help isn't enough. You must hear the last part." He leaned forward, whispering a sequence, a single encoded phrase that triggered Elon's visor with a warning he had never seen in service or simulation. Not a threat, a designation. "You're listed," the child said. "Humanity is interfering. You're next." A single punchline fell into the silence like a dropped blade. Everything changes now. Elon rose, calm and steady, and keyed the alert. The outpost prepared without panic. The twins watched him with exhausted trust as the first protective fields came online. And he answered that trust with a single, unshaken promise. "You're under our protection. No one past this line touches you again." The first shot came as a distant bloom, a violet flare melting through upper atmosphere haze. Elon watched it trace across the tactical display, straight, confident, designed to terrify anyone who still believed slaver weapons were unstoppable. The twins stood behind him, small and silent, gripping the railing as if the metal itself anchored them. "It's starting," the older whispered. Elon didn't look back. He kept his breathing calm. The outpost shields hummed. Impact ETA, 14 seconds. The slavers fired again, a paired volley. 47 craft didn't bother with subtlety. They relied on shock and spectacle. 2 beams, then 4. Then a curtain of charged particles that would have skinned lesser structures down to sand. Elon opened a channel. "Tower, cycle the absorber grid. Warm it now." A tone confirmed. Grid efficiency climbing. 62%, 71%, 91%. The numbers steadied like a held breath. The first beam struck. Light cascaded around the barrier, bending like water around a stone. The shock bloomed outward in a harmless halo, absorbed, spread, bled off into the thermal sinks buried beneath the outpost. A soft thud reached their ears. Nothing cracked, nothing shook. The twins gasped, not at the attack, but at its failure. The second volley hit harder. Particle lashes wrapped the barrier in a net of white-blue blare. Elon checked the readout. Dissipation holding at 87%. Thermal load stable. A minor heat rise tremored through the walkway, warm rather than dangerous. He tracked the returning diagnostic pulses. The shield barely registered strain. A punchline surfaced in his mind. Sharp, inevitable, and he let it slip into the quiet. They brought the wrong weapons. Outside, the enemy formation adjusted, confused. They had expected collapse in the first minute. Instead, the humans absorbed their opening barrage with a precision that felt like mockery delivered in reverse. Elon saw the hesitation ripple through their pattern. Slight stagger, slight rotation lapse, slight drift in synchronization. Predators noticing their teeth had snapped on bone. "Are they stopping?" the younger twin asked. "No," Elon said. "They're thinking." "Slavers don't think," the older whispered. "They punish." "They try," Elon corrected softly. A new flare erupted. Broad spectrum, the kind meant to overload sensors. The blast poured down like a hammer of light. The outpost dimmed automatically, shielding the interior optics. Absorbers drank the energy, diverting it into the deep sink conduits. Efficiency dipped to 82%, then climbed back to 87% in 3 seconds. Elon admired the engineering, not for the violence it endured, but for the peace it preserved. The slavers fired again, harder, more frantic, patterns breaking into aggression. None realized the reversal had already locked in. They could escalate, the humans did not need to. Survival was not a contest here, it was a demonstration. Elon opened an encrypted link to the incoming rapid response corvettes, 3 signatures closing at speeds too sharp for slaver tracking. "Grid is stable," he reported. "Outpost secure, twins protected. You'll have clean lanes on arrival." "Copy," the corvette lead answered. "Time on target, 4 minutes." Another violet blast splashed across the sky, absorbed like a sigh of static. Elon knelt beside the children so they could see his face clearly. "You're inside the line," he said. "Nothing they fire changes that." The older twin's voice was barely audible. "How are you this calm?" "Because this is the part," Elon said, "where they realize we're not the relics they think." Outside, the enemy slowed, not by choice, but by doubt. And that single moment of hesitation carried the story forward like a door quietly unlocking. The corvettes knifed into the system as streaks of white heat. 3 signatures too sharp and too fast for slaver prediction. Elon felt their arrival before the sensors finished rendering it. Atmospheric pressure shifted, a low resonance humming through the outpost walls. The twins straightened, instinctively recognizing something decisive had entered their orbit of fear. "Those are yours?" the younger whispered. Elon nodded once. "Time to extraction," came the corvette lead's voice. 40 seconds. Prepare for 12G transfer." The warning was calm, almost casual, but 12G was never casual. It was the kind of acceleration that could tear muscle from bone if you weren't braced, sealed, or medically anchored. The kind humans trained for, because sometimes saving the smallest lives demanded violent motion from those who could endure it. Elon activated the cradle harness, 2 overlapping arcs of composite designed for civilians, not soldiers. He knelt, guiding the twins into its curve with steady hands. "You'll feel pressure," he said, "not fear, pressure." The older twin bit her lip and held her brother's arm tighter. The younger glanced up. "Will you come with us?" Elon met his gaze. "Always." Outside, the slaver formation wavered. 47 blips began to redistribute, reevaluating threat vectors. They expected retaliation, not approach. Their mistake was simple, assuming humanity would stay behind fortifications instead of turning kinetic. A flash cracked across the sky. The first corvette broke atmosphere with a controlled violence that folded shockwaves into clean lines. Its hull glowed white, shedding heat in plumes. 2 more followed, forming a descending triad. Their burn signatures wrote geometric precision across the clouds. "Docking in 10, command said. Shields overlapping, hold position." A punchline struck with the clarity of a hammer on steel. "We move faster than fear." The landing pads flared gold as the first corvette braked. Even at reduced thrust, the pressure rolled across the outpost like a physical shove. Elon planted his boots, shielding the twins with his body until the turbulence eased. He counted the deceleration beats. 4, then 3, then the soft hiss of partial vacuum equalization. The hatch opened. Medical crew stepped out, braced for acceleration. Harness lines extended, locking to Elon's forearm. He guided the cradle forward. The twins trembled under the pressure of expectation, not of threat.
"Stay with me," he murmured, eyes on my voice. Behind them, the tactical feed shifted. Slaver formation integrity collapsing. Their attempt to regroup was collapsing with it. They had no answer for insertion vectors they couldn't track. No doctrine for opponents who chose speed over spectacle. 3 corvettes had undone the shape of their assault in under a minute. Straps secured, a medic called, heart rate synced. Lift in 5, the pilot confirmed. 12G in 8 seconds. Brace. The cradle sealed with a magnetic click. Elon slid in beside the twins, anchoring his arm around them as the chamber lights dimmed to amber. Pressure built like a rising tide. Bones pushed against skin. Breath became measured effort. But the twins didn't cry, and Elon didn't falter. The burn detonated, silent, brutal, pure. 12G pressed them deeper into the cradle, compressing time into sensation. Through the hull, Elon sensed the outpost falling away, sensed safety turning into motion, sensed the slaver formation fracturing as the corvettes punched a corridor straight through their lines. 12 seconds later, the pressure eased. The twins exhaled together. And Elon opened his eyes to the steady hum of a ship that had already carried them beyond the reach of the first wave of hunters. The corvettes cut upward through thinning cloud, angling toward the slaver formation like blades returning to a whetstone. Elon kept the twins in the cradle beside him, monitoring their vitals as the ship's hull shifted from atmospheric pressure to the clean silence of vacuum. Outside, 47 hostile craft reoriented, desperate to regain coherence. Their formation flickered on the display, fractured arcs, uneven spacing, hesitation broadcast in every adjustment. Enemy locking solutions, the pilot reported, range closing, weapons free in 20. The younger twin gripped Elon's sleeve. Will they follow us forever? Elon shook his head once. They won't get the chance. The corvettes tightened into a spearhead. Their velocity climbed. Slaver sensors lagged by 2 full seconds, an eternity in kinetic combat. First shot. A thin line of metal and intent tore across the void. A railgun slug fired at relative velocity so high it barely registered as matter. It punched straight through the lead slaver craft. The icon blinked, then vanished. Hit confirmed, weapons said. Beginning primary exchange. The slavers panicked. Missiles fanned outward, 12, then 20, then more as their formation dissolved into frantic arcs. The corvettes responded with a composure that bordered on disdain. Countermeasures flared, microshields pulsed, trajectory lines recalibrated with the patience of a surgeon.
Weighing incisions. Impact warnings strobed. Elon watched the numbers without blinking. Distance, 310 kilometers. Time to contact, 6.4 seconds. Pulse grid now, the captain ordered. The ship obeyed. A wave of white light burst outward, ionizing the field and stripping guidance from half the incoming missiles. The remaining ones broke into spirals. The corvettes shifted vertically, 2 meters, 5, 9, just enough that every surviving missile slid past in useless arcs. Punchline: clean, sharp, undeniable. Precision decides who lives. The slavers never recovered. Firing solution locked on 32 targets, weapons said. Executing. The salvo left the corvettes like a whispered verdict. 16 railgun shots, 24 micro-torpedoes, and a compression missile that folded distance into a single impossible leap. Space lit with faint ribbons of fire as hulls ruptured. Slaver voices choked over open channels. Shock, denial, panic. Their arrogance evaporated in static. Elon counted the icons fading from the tactical map. 1, 3, 8, 13. The children watched too, not with triumph, but with a silent, wary awe. Witnesses to a violence they had been raised to fear, now wielded on their behalf. The second corvette fired a focused burst that sliced an entire wing of enemy ships apart. Shards of metal drifted outward like ash on a windless plain. Casualty update, the tactical officer said, voice even. Enemy fleet reduced by 97%. Silence filled the cabin for a heartbeat. Not celebration, not cruelty, just acknowledgement. 97% was not a boast. It was a resolution carried to finality because hesitation would have cost lives behind them. Only one slaver craft remained, engine crippled, drifting in a widening spiral. Its weapons were cold. Its comms sputtered with fractured pleas. The pilot's hand hovered over the targeting control. "Hold," Elon said quietly. The bridge listened. "They can't harm us," he continued. "They can surrender or be retrieved. We don't finish helpless crews." The captain nodded, shifting to capture protocol. The twins stared at him, stunned not by the destruction, but by the restraint that followed it. Outside, the last hostile vessel drifted in silence. No longer a threat, but a remnant of a battle already decided. And the corvettes set their course onward, leaving the wreckage behind like a discarded shadow. The captured slaver vessel drifted in tow behind the corvettes, a silent fragment of the battle they had already outpaced. Elon remained beside the twins in the medbay's quiet glow, the ship steady now, its engines a low heartbeat beneath their feet. The children sat close together, knees touching, eyes fixed on the shard they had carried across half a starline. He could see the weight of 800,000 lives inside their gaze, too vast for two small frames to hold. "Ready," he said, gently. "Show me what your people died trying to protect." The older twin nodded and slid the shard across the reader plate. A soft hum rose. Light blossomed, thin, pale, sharp-edged. A projection spiraled upward, unfolding into cold numbers. Elon watched them appear one by one. Population markers, 800,000 targeted. Subdesignations, infants, juveniles, reproductive lines. Status, scheduled erasure. Authority signature, unknown. Operational handlers, 5 shadow factions. The younger twin whispered, "We weren't chosen, we were counted." His voice cracked halfway through the word, and Elon placed a steady hand on his shoulder, grounding him. The report continued to spool. Images of camps, vanished settlements, shredded migration records. Not conquest, not war. Erasure as policy. Quiet, systematic, intentional. Each line felt like a cold blade dragged through the room. Elon inhaled once, controlled and even. Rage was the wrong word. This was something deeper, heavier, older. A moral gravity humans didn't choose, but carried all the same. He lifted his rest comm. "Bridge, patch me into command." "Linked," the captain replied. "Transmit the shard's contents," Elon said. "All channels, full encryption. Flag it as extinction-level intelligence. Priority 0. The twins tensed. "Will they believe you?" the older asked. "They'll believe you," Elon answered. "We don't ignore children who ask for help." The data finished projecting. A final symbol hovered in the air, an empty circle with a burning line through its center. The twins recoiled. "That," the older whispered, "is the seal that activated the protocol." Rain folded her hands behind her back. "The seal predates most of our archives. We
Don't know who controls it. But we've seen its operations before. Hidden, precise, always targeting small species with traits someone considers inconvenient." Elon stepped closer to the projection. "If you've seen them before, why wait to act?" Rain didn't flinch. "We didn't wait. We prepared." She tapped her wrist, and the chamber darkened. New images filled the air, fleets that had never been acknowledged publicly. Ships built in secret, listening posts buried in dust moons, long-range kinetic arrays masked as abandoned stations. "This is the Coalition's shield," she said. 17 years of quiet construction, 33 listening nodes, 9 rapid intervention fleets hidden across independent space. She paused. "We built all of this because one day someone would flee to us and bring the proof we needed to act without shattering the galaxy." The younger twins stared at the scaled fleet projections. "And now we brought it." "You did," Rain said softly, "and thanks to you, the shadows are no longer shadows." Punchline, measured, final, and heavy with intent. They hunted in silence. We do not respond the same way. Elon watched the twins absorb those words. For the first time since they had staggered into the outpost, he saw their shoulders ease. Not fully, not safely, but enough that hope began to replace dread. Rain turned to Elon. "We have the factions identified, the pattern mapped. Now justice requires something we can no longer hide." She pressed a command. A final image filled the room, an ancient signal still transmitting from deep space, bearing the same split ring symbol. Your extinction protocol, Rain said, was only the first step. Whatever commands it has now marked another name. Elon read the glyph translation as it scrolled into view. Humanity, interfering. He exhaled once, calm and steady. Then we move, he said. Decades of preparation won't sit idle now. And the room agreed in silence. The second wave arrived without subtlety, 47 craft dropping from translation with the blunt intent of a hammer, not a strategy. Elon stood on the command deck of the Coalition cruiser Vigilant Array, the twins beside him under protective escort. The children watched the tactical sphere with the same tension as someone who had learned to expect death in every sudden light. But Elon's stance was steady. The corvettes had bought time. The Coalition's hidden preparations now filled that time with something far more precise. Enemy fleet establishing wedge, the sensor chief reported. Hierarchy signatures show unified command. Not for long, Elon replied. In the sphere, the slaver craft arranged into a narrowing spearhead, an intimidation posture. It was the same configuration they used to break frontier colonies. But this system wasn't a frontier anymore. Coalition fleets, once ghosts, now stepped into full view. Domination window opens in 70 seconds. Target distribution locked. The twins exchanged a fearful glance. Elon placed a steady hand on the railing so they could anchor themselves to his calm. Watch, he said, not to fear, to understand. A shock ripple cut through the void as 9 intervention ships decloaked. Sleek, angular, built for speed rather than survival. Their engines carved clean lines of white across the dark. The slavers hesitated, a tremor in formation, a confused pivot. They had expected pursuit, not encirclement. Window in 40, weapons confirmed. Charging arrays. The Coalition fleet tightened its net. Each vessel moved in exact synchrony, 2 meters of variance at most. The display updated, tracking enemy attempts to reorganize. Their command node barked orders, trying to reinforce hierarchy. But hierarchy itself had become fragile. Doubt eroded it with each ship that drifted a fraction out of line. Hostile missile spread detected, sensors called. 38 inbound. Pulse disruption on my mark, the captain said. 20 seconds. The slavers launched their second barrage, more missiles than their first wave had carried, a scatterfire pattern meant to overwhelm. But scatterfire meant fear. It meant they couldn't choose a single target because every target suddenly felt like the wrong one. 10. A punchline settled into the deck like a weight. Domination is timing, not force. Mark. The Vigilant Array fired its pulse. White radiance expanded outward, silent, disciplined, washing across incoming missiles with controlled intensity. Guidance died instantly. Nearly all 40 missiles drifted, lost like sparks blown away by an unseen wind. Coalition interceptors shredded the rest. Window open, weapons announced. Execute. The set piece unfolded in 3 steps. First step, kinetic rain. 24 railgun slugs streaked across the void, each aimed not at hulls but at structural seams. 5 slaver craft tore apart before they finished adjusting course. Second step, compression strikes. Micro-torpedoes folded space by fractions, too small for translation, large enough to twist enemy trajectories into collisions. 9 ships slammed into their own allies. Third step, silent cull. Energy lances flicked outward in surgical pulses, short, bright lines that sliced engines, cracked reactors, or severed command spines. Formation integrity collapsed. The hierarchy collapsed with it. The tactical sphere updated in cold increments. 47 hostile craft neutralized. Structural survivals, 6. Combat capable, 0. The slaver's commander sputtered across a broken channel. We surrender. Coordinates, please. The voice dissolved into static. Elon didn't gloat. He simply nodded to the captain. Begin rescue protocols. All surviving crews to tribunal hold. The twins stared at him, astonished yet again that victory did not demand cruelty. Justice, Elon said quietly, is not the same as vengeance. Remember that.
Outside, the last slaver ship drifted powerless, its threat extinguished, its hierarchy reduced to silence. And the coalition fleet pivoted, not to celebrate, but to aim their sensors towards the deeper dark, where the next signal waited. The tribunal bays were quiet, not sterile, not cold, simply calm in a way that stripped panic of its teeth. Elon guided the twins through the observation corridor, letting them see each step of the aftermath with their own eyes. They had lived too long under the rule of shadows. They deserved to witness how justice moved when it wasn't wearing a mask. Below, the surviving slaver crews, 6 total, sat in containment fields that allowed full breathing space, normal posture, unshackled limbs. No cages, no humiliation, just separation and procedure. The older twin blinked. "You're not hurting them?" "No," Elon said. "That's not how we fix anything." A tribunal officer approached the first detainee, voice steady, tone even. "Under coalition law, you're entitled to counsel, medical care, and translation support. You'll stand trial within 36 hours. The slaver, ragged, trembling, nodded with confusion that bordered on disbelief. Slaver networks trained their ranks to expect torment and defeat. The absence of cruelty disoriented them more than any weapon strike. "Next group," the officer said. "Prepare reparations inventory." The twins exchanged glances. Reparations meant acknowledgement, and acknowledgement meant the truth had nowhere to hide. "Political channels opening," the captain called from the comm pillar. "Slaver networks are already fragmenting. 2 syndicates are blaming the others. 3rd faction calling for emergency amnesty. I allowed myself one controlled sigh. They're cracking faster than expected." "Not cracking," the captain said. "Shattering." Screens across the chamber lit up. Broadcasts, intercepted messages, encrypted debates now leaking through collapsing command structures. Words tumbled in frantic streams. Hierarchy compromised. How many fleets lost? 47 ships gone. What hit them? Why are they being treated
Humanely? Why aren't ours being executed? Is this a negotiation tactic or mercy? The last word lingered on multiple channels, uncertain, unfamiliar. The younger twin tugged Elon's sleeve. "Mercy scares them?" "Mercy without fear does," Elon answered. "They don't understand power that chooses restraint." Punchline: soft, direct, inescapably true. Mercy is stronger when it's optional. The tribunal's next phase activated. Holographic displays assembled rows of names. Victims, settlements erased, migration clusters destroyed under the Extinction Protocol's handlers. Witness logs scrolled. For every slaver voice pleading ignorance, evidence answered back with unblinking clarity. Reparations teams followed procedure. Asset seizure, supply redistribution, survivor location programs, restoration mandates. No one celebrated. Justice wasn't designed for celebration. A soft tone indicated an incoming coalition broadcast. Director Rain appeared on the nearest screen. All factions involved in the protocol are now tagged hostile rogue under interstellar law. Coalition units will intercept any vessel linked to these shadows until the tribunal completes sentencing. The twins leaned toward the display, listening as if expecting the galaxy to suddenly change its mind. But the message held: firm, transparent, public. "This will cascade," the captain murmured. "Their markets, their alliances, their entire system of threat-based control. It's collapsing." "Good," Elon said. "It needed to." He guided the twins away from the observation deck as another detainee requested medical evaluation instead of bargaining for release. Small signs, real change. "They'll fear you," the older twin whispered. "All of humanity." Elon shook his head. "No, they'll fear what hunts children. They'll learn to respect who protects them." Outside the bay, the corridor lights dimmed to a calm blue. The path ahead opened toward command. And Elon walked forward, not triumphant, not harsh, simply steady, carrying 2 small lives toward a future finally shifting in their favor. The signal arrived as a whisper threaded through static, so faint the sensors almost dismissed it as cosmic noise. Elon stood with the twins on the Vigilant Array's forward observation deck, a curved wall of glass staring into the quiet dark. Tribunal orders were underway. Reparations had begun. Slaver networks were fracturing under the weight of their own crimes.
Yet the room carried a stillness that felt like the breath before a storm. "Director Rain calling," the comm chimed. "Priority 0. The older twin stiffened. Elon answered. Rain's image appeared, harsher lighting than usual, eyes sharper. "We've traced the activation seal," she said, "the one that triggered the extinction protocol." Elon felt the twins tighten beside him, like small gravity wells contracting. "It predates coalition records," Rain continued, "predates slaver archives, predates most of what we call known history." She tapped a control. A hologram bloomed into existence, an ancient ring split by a single line descending like a blade. The twins recoiled. "Why is it still active?" the younger whispered. "Because the source hasn't stopped," Rain said. "It only paused to watch." The hologram shifted. New data scrolled, coordinates so distant the screen dimmed to accommodate the scale. Not a star system, a void, a region of empty space where no fleet should exist. But something did. A beacon, faint, repeating. Status, protocol continuity. Priority, children of the line. Next intervention, pending interference review. Interfering species, humanity. Outcome directive, erasure candidate. The words hung in the air like a blade suspended on invisible wire. The twins froze. "They marked you," the older breathed. "Like they marked us." Elon did not flinch. "We expected attention eventually." "No," Rain said quietly. "This isn't attention. It's recognition." She enlarged the signal trace. "The beacon updated 11 minutes after your Corvette's first strike. Whatever commands it." It was watching the battle in real time. Silence drifted across the deck. The stars outside seemed too calm for what the data implied. The protocol hadn't been a slaver project. The 5 factions were only contractors. The architect, whatever mind had started an 800,000 soul erasure, was still out there. And now, it was turning its gaze toward humanity. A punchline settled with the weight of inevitability. "They noticed," we stood up. The younger twin pressed his forehead against the glass, staring at the distant void. "Can you fight something like this?" "Fighting isn't the first step," Elon said. "Understanding is." A new waveform appeared, irregular, rhythmic, pulsed in intervals that did not match any slaver protocol. The ship translated it into tonal fragments, soft and cold. Rain's voice softened. "This signal wasn't meant for the slaver factions. It was meant for us." "Why?" Elon asked. "Because it's not warning them," she answered. "It's evaluating us." The hologram pulsed again. A final line scrolled across the projection, assessing response capacity, assessing moral obstruction, assessing threat level, rising. The twins clasped each other's hands, trembling in a way Elon hadn't seen since the outpost sands. He knelt beside them. "Look at me," he said. They did. "You came to us for protection. You have it. And now someone else has decided that our protection is unacceptable." His voice stayed calm, steady, unshaken. "We'll answer that. Not with panic, with preparation." Outside the glass, a distant star winked. Once, sharp, like a watching eye. Rain's voice returned. "Long-range fleets are awakening, old listening posts you were never told about. Whatever this is, we will meet it unprepared." Elon rose, placing a hand on each twin's shoulder. "Then this isn't an ending." "No," Rain said. "It's the horizon." The signal pulsed one last time, cold and patient, marking humanity for erasure. And Elon stared into the dark with a quiet certainty that carried more gravity than fear. "We see you," he murmured. Then he turned toward the command deck, steady and sure, walking into whatever future refused to stay hidden.